connection and opportunity. All in one place. Come join the community. So text it now, don't wait in line. Fight for life. 949298295. That's
9492905. They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you. Everyone, let me see here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Napoleon Hill training. I got Mikey in his workout shirt. I got Blaine in his hat matching me, and Gigi. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for last night. One of the things with our masterminds or VIP dinners that I love is everyone that we do. Everyone says this is the best one yet. So I want to thank my team. It's certainly, in my opinion, every time it is the best one yet. And overpopulated. We are blessed to have such a great community. So come and join us. We do them 200 times a year. So there's no shortage of invitations and not obligations, of course, for everyone. Just to update you before we get started with the training, bringing on my dear friend, Blaine Bartlett. Let's go through the schedule. We'll be in San Diego tomorrow. Come and meet us in San Diego. Even Gigi can't keep up with where we're at. I can never get it right. But we all have our community text messages, so we get alerted. But tomorrow we'll be in San Diego, then Las Vegas for Summer League. Then we'll be in Philadelphia for the All-Star game. Then New York City for a EO event and Fanatics Fest, then to SoFi Stadium, then to Miami FC with Messi, then in London for a private member networking group, then Breckenridge at the finale. So that's how you get to 200 cities. You keep doing your best, learning lessons and having fun with the best community in the world. If you want to be informed and invited, it's really simple. We have a text community. You heard our jingle. I can't sing, but it's something like this, 949-298-2905. Stay informed, stay invited. Of course, we put it in the newsletter every Tuesday, training every Wednesday, training every Friday, Ask Me Anything every Monday. So we do as much as we can for the community. Today's training is the bridge between, let me pull this up real quick for everybody, the bridge between fear and faith. And so I'm going to bring my dear mentor, coach, and teacher, world business consultant, if anyone's interested in changing their life, having the money mindset to change possibilities into probabilities. That would be Blaine Bartlett, blainebartlett.com. Blaine, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. And I just want to ask
Congratulations
you-
on the mastermind.
Thank you. Thank you. You're a big part of that as well, as you know. But I was just wondering, are you going to be able to stay on afterwards to take Q&A for half an hour after training?
Absolutely. I've
right.
got to build into the calendar.
We are blessed. You get more than your money's worth here on Napoleon Hill Institute training today and every single Wednesday. The bridge between fear and faith. And if anybody would like the replay from today, if anybody would like the guides and exercises, I'll remind you, but you can email me. David means beloved, at D is my first initial, Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant. Email me directly, david@dmeltzer.com. The bridge between fear and faith is essential in understanding how wisdom is created. You see, today knowledge is a commodity. It used to be power, but no longer is it power. It's simply a commodity. Everybody has access to an infinite amount of knowledge. And so this bridge between fear and faith becomes essential because that's how wisdom is formed. It's fear itself is obviously a natural part of growth. Every opportunity, relationship, investment, and our breakthrough or expansion or transcendence comes with uncertainty because uncertainty is certain. The question isn't whether we'll experience fear. It's whether we'll allow the fear to make our decisions or let faith guide our actions. We've all delayed making a phone call, launching a business, asking for an option, opportunity, touch of favor, or pursuing a dream because we wanted more certainty, more stability. Often what we're really waiting for isn't the right time. It's the courage to begin, to make those mistakes, to learn, to expand, accelerate, aggregate, and compound those mistakes into success or results. I promise you, fear is inevitable, and so is uncertainty. Staying stuck because fear is optional is ridiculous. Courage is built the moment we choose action over hesitation. And today we're going to bridge that gap for you to allow you to witness it and release it, the fear, and understand that faith will create the wisdom to shorten the distance of resistance that we create between the problems and the solutions that we desire. Blaine, lesson number one is just to understand fear itself. So many people think fear is an enemy, but it isn't. It actually exists to protect, promote, love, and perfect us. The problem begins when fear stops informing our decisions and starts controlling them, because fear will evoke the ego, and the ego is there to control. Ego's there to defend. Ego's there to prove. And this relationship causes a separation between the fear, the expansion, and the growth that it's meant for. We convince ourselves that we're waiting for the right time instead of allowing the perfect time and the perfect place and the situation, circumstances, and events to occur, even though the evidence isn't there or the evidence is contrary to being there. And when in reality, all we're doing is avoiding the discomfort of taking action. Blaine, so many times fear disguises itself and it causes paralysis. What are some of the ways that fear disguises itself that causes the interference of feeling overwhelmed or procrastinating? What are some of the way it disguises itself?
I love that question. It disguises itself most typically as a reasonable argument for not doing something, a reasonable argument. And, the ego and the mind will track towards reasonable. Reasonable people get reasonable results. Unreasonable people get unreasonable results. So, you kind of put it in that context. When we start doing things that are unreasonable, the mind rebels. Because, and this is the key piece on this, it's an identity question. Anything that I consider to be unreasonable is a conflict with my sense of identity, my sense of egoic self. So most fear that we experience, there's two kinds of fear that come into play here. One is physical, fear of the physical outcome. So there's a saber-toothed tiger and I'm about to become lunch. The other is psychological. And that's the one that compromises most people. It's the fear of compromising my sense of identity. I'm not the kind of person who can, who would, who should, who will. Those sorts of things. And it's almost always in a social context. What would people think of me?
And the idea of what other people think is a big part of this fear. You know, when we are looking outside to heal the inside, we want to control, defend, improve what's going on the outside so that we feel good on the inside. Ironically, though, the same holds true. You can't just rearrange inside in order to control the outside. And people spend a fortune in our space, right? This, transcendental form, TLC space. I'm going to rearrange, meditate, and go to, the Ganja or up into the Himalayas or into a heat, cave. And that's going to rearrange my inside to control the outside. But it's actually some sort of witness consciousness that allows us to release the trauma inside that makes the outside okay. Because we'll never control the uncertainty. We'll never change the uncertainty. No. But we need, in order to live at ease, to make it okay. Life is easy if what's going on outside is easy for us. And it's all this idea that we talk about of meaning and relativity, and to witness how fear shows up in our daily lives is essential. And we can start witnessing the delays, the procrastination, perfectionism, all of these different things, and replace the hesitation with, as Napoleon Hill says, a definiteness of purpose, with attention and intention to equals these coincidences. And I know you have a book about this, about the definite. How does your book talk about the witness consciousness that's necessary to release what's inside, to have definite purpose outside, so that whatever happens outside is at ease?
Stop Drifting, Start Living is the title of the book. And essentially I took a page out of Napoleon Hill's work, Outwitting the Devil, and developed the book out of this. And it's really about labeling. The whole notion of drifting is a subconscious response to the stuff that goes on externally in life. And I get pushed and pulled all the time. And if I'm not aware, if I'm not conscious, if I'm not paying attention, it becomes real easy to be caught in the current of life as opposed to the current of purpose. And there's a big distinction there. So when you stop drifting and start living, you're intentionally putting yourself in a position of being uncomfortable because you're actually pushing back against the heavy current of the way that life seems to be unfolding. And by life unfolding, I'm talking about societal expectations, familial expectations, educational expectations, religious expectations, all of that stuff that are outside of me. It's all outside of me, and it's all pushing and saying, you need to conform. Conformity is just, you and I both know that conformity is the quickest way to mediocrity. And mediocrity does not serve anybody.
Definition. No, it's by definition, definitely stifling our potential. Lesson number one is, how do we understand fear and how it informs us, tries to defend, prove, and control us and what's outside of us. There's no need to wait for the right time. If you would like the exercise on how to be a witness of your consciousness and understand fear, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Blaine, lesson number two is identifying now our greatest fears, the ones that truly interfere with our potential. The fears that we don't acknowledge often become the ones that control, prove, and defend and direct our lives. They become our divine direction. So this witness consciousness, this awareness, this enlightenment is the first step towards overcoming, in this sense, the fear that's trying to control, defend, and protect. So we may avoid these opportunities because we're afraid of what other people think. We're afraid of that criticism. We're maybe afraid of one of the greatest fears that Napoleon talks about in Outwitting the Devil, financial loss. We may be afraid of rejection. We may be afraid of failure, but Blaine, or even success, defining the meaning of our past. How can we define the meaning to understand the awareness, to identify, and prioritize, believe it or not our actions, but prioritize our fear?
Yeah, a simple exercise that I developed years and years and years and years ago is an if-then process. So I just start off with, if this happens, it's usually the one that's most top of mind. If this happens, I lose the deal. Then what's the consequence? Then I take that consequence. Well, if this happened, then that happened. Well, if that happened, then what? If that happened, then what? And the key here is not to look for a solution that will get me out of the spiral downward. I want to keep digging all the way down to where I get to the point of, this is as bad as it could possibly get. And then I can kind of look at it objectively and go, well, am I still going to be breathing? Yeah, I'm probably still going to be breathing. I'll probably still be, eating lunch somewhere, that sort of thing. But that if-then scenario, what typically causes us to stop is the lack of ability to be clear about really what is it that's in place here? What is it that I'm actually kind of concerned with? And most of that is very subliminal. Most of it's pretty much out of mind. But my mind physiologically will go to that worst case scenario without me ever realizing that worst case scenario is running me, and that worst case scenario almost never is going to happen.
And it never does.
And
In just the same way, I think the inverse is important to understand in the context of identifying fear, is that there's a independent fear of what we want, that what we want is never going to happen. And the truth is, what you want is never going to happen. What's going to happen, if you have the right behaviors aligned with where you want to be and spend minutes and moments in this interfering fear, what's actually going to happen is better than what you want, because you are protected and promoted. And that's where this bridge occurs between fear and faith, that you may not understand the evidence today, or the evidence contrary today to where you want to be or better. And it takes the faith, not knowledge, but faith, to bridge between, I'm really trying my best, I'm learning lessons, and I'm having fun doing it, but the evidence today does not in any way indicate that I'm going to get to where I want to be. But we have to have faith that not only is it going to get to where you want to be, it's going to get you to where you want to be or better, because it's guided. If you put the action into it, if you put the activity into it, if you put the attention into it, if you put the intention into it, it's going to get you to where you want to be, or probably most likely better. But you have to be able to have faith that I just don't understand how losing everything, including my mom's house, is going to get me 20 years later to a place where I've made more money, help more people, and have more fun than I ever imagined. Yeah. Because at that time, it's just not real.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's faith. Yeah. I mean, we really never did define it. Faith is the ability to feel the unseen. That's the way that you can kind of organize around that. It's not, faith in the picture. It's a feeling. That's a vibrational construct. It's a vibrational dynamic, and you want to tap into that.
And that's why we need to identify and witness, right? Both of the lessons that we were talking about, because we want to control our feelings inside. We can't rearrange them, but we want to witness and release that makes us feel good about the fact that we screwed things up, and that we have faith that because we screwed things up, we're going to be in a better place, a better position, a better situation, in man-made constructive time, down a linear time frame. If you would like an exercise or the replay of this on identifying our greatest fears, all you got to do is email me. David means beloved. @D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant, and appreciate you to email me, David@dmeltzer.com. Now, Blaine, earlier I talked about in the introduction courage. And courage to me is a decision. Many people believe courage comes after fear disappears. In reality, courage is what happens when we move despite fear. When we move in a divine direction, we are intentional with our definiteness of purpose, despite the fear that exists, despite the evidence that exists. Here you can see how this definition of courage is a bridge between fear and faith, because the entrepreneurs who I work with, who end up being billionaires and the leading athletes and celebrities, the people who launch despite, who try out despite, who play despite, those are the leaders who have had the difficult conversation with themselves or others, have talked to others and themselves and ask for what they want and still experience fear, but they choose action. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's fear plus action that equals courage. Blaine, is there any advice that you can give us how in the face of fear that we still move in a consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential?
Yeah, the formula that you speak about, courage is fear plus action. It's actually fear plus intentional action.
Yes.
And you're going to stub your toe more often than not when you're taking intentional action, because you don't, I mean, if you're actually doing this with a higher objective in mind, with an ideal that you're trying to achieve in mind that you don't know how to get to, that untrammeled territory, that unexplored territory, it's got all kinds of stuff that's going to trip you up. So the idea of how success gets defined becomes real important here. Sustainable success is the ability, developing the ability and the capacity to continuously start over. And that's where courage comes into play. Continuously starting over. Well, the horse bucked me off. Well, I lost my mom's house. Yeah. I could fold the tent, call it a day, or I can go, well, okay, intentional action. I tap into the feeling. What would success feel like? Okay. I know what I'd like it to look like, but what would it feel like?
So important. And that is a distinction, though, between motivation and inspiration, is that motivation gets us up, gets us back started, gets us back up. And it's inspiration after we get back up, after the mistake, that now takes us to where we want to be or better. If anybody would like the exercise on courage is a decision and utilizing the ability to get up, get back up, get started, get back started, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. The fourth lesson, Blaine, is feeding faith over fear.
Yeah.
So our intention determines our direction. What we do, say, think, believe, and as you suggest, feel. The more we focus on possibility, the less influence fear has over our decisions. This is absolutely aligned with your new book. And when we focus on scarcity, we hesitate. When we focus on opportunity, options, touches of favor, and being of service and receiving, we move forward with confidence. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. I will repeat that. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. Whatever we feed grows stronger. How do we feed faith over fear?
Yeah, my reading this morning with Neville Goddard, I came across this.
One of your
And,
favorites.
I love how the universe works. It just kind of drops in my lap here. Here's the quotation. Nothing is more important to you than the ideas on which you feed, and you feed on the ideas from which you think. So the answer there is, I want to be able to just monitor how I'm thinking. In order to do something different, in order to have something different, in order to be something different, I have to think differently. I have control over what runs through my brain. Now, I don't have control of what drops in, but I have control of what I feed that comes in. It's kind of like, well, not that one. I'm going to take this one. And that's the one, the whole two wolves story. Which wolf are you going to feed? Okay. They're both going to be present.
It's so true. And I remember the first time you taught me everything happens twice. And I want to point out that this is indicative of what wolf we're going to feed, because you identify what the mind has presented to us. And the mind is very tricky. I love the mind because it will tell you, what not to do, what to be afraid of, whatever, or it'll tell you what to do, and then it'll make fun of you for doing it because it'll bring up all these things. And so these thoughts that come from the mind, the mind is not a great thing,
No.
because it's controlled by the ego, and the information it gives us is not real. And it's there doing all kinds of messed up things to us based off of some quantum memory, some conscious continuum memory, some unconscious competencies that don't serve us or are not aligned with the divine direction or intentional behaviors that we desire. It is so important to understand the story of the two wolves, to feed our faith continually, overfeeding fear. It's your choice what you want to feed, but whatever you feed very obviously grows stronger, bigger, and faster than what you don't feed. And so pick and choose and be intentional about what you feed. If you would like an exercise, the replays of today's training, if you would like to reach out to me, David is beloved at D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Blaine, the next lesson is one in which is so important in the world of surrender, in the world of meditation, of ease. And it's action actually creates the confidence and comfortability in the ease. Fear grows through an inactivity, and it shrinks through movement. Yep. Confidence is never a prerequisite. It is the result of the intentional, consistent, persistent pursuit or action of our potential. Every successful billionaire, millionaire, entrepreneur, celebrity, athlete, entertainer that I've worked with has gained their confidence by taking imperfect action repeatedly, enjoying what they don't like or love about what they love repeatedly, enjoying the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of their potential. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes because of action. Blaine, you are the master of telling people, do not sit at home high, broke, sick on your mom's couch. It is important to dream about what you want, but if you sit on that couch, you are nothing more than a dreamer and a drifter, and you're going to fall within what I define as a tube. You're going to live your life, food in, food out.
Yep. Yeah. The definition of a rut is it's a coffin with the ends kicked out. That's essentially what it is. And a lot of people find themselves in ruts. Confidence is a consequence. And if you just kind of
repeat that, confidence is a consequence.
Confidence is a consequence. You don't have confidence. It happens as a consequence of taking action. And it's small incremental steps. I mean, I'm not going to take, I don't have the confidence that I can climb, Mount Everest, but I do take action. And over time, I can, Mount Si out here in Seattle, I can climb Mount Si. I mean, when I was a kid, Mount Baldy in my backyard. I had a flag. I made a flag. I'm gonna go to the top of Mount Baldy. And my brother looked at me and said, "You can't do that." And I'm going, I don't know if I can or not, but I'm gonna go take a step. I mean, and
I'm gonna take action.
Watch me.
I'm gonna take action to stop Mount Baldy right there. There's Mount Baldy. It's so important.
It's action.
Take action and be prepared to make mistakes when you take action, because you don't know what you don't know, which ties into my favorite quote. You're either humble or you're about to be. So go ahead and take action knowing you're about to be humbled. But at least you're growing. One of the great analogies that I heard is if you were in the 5th grade and you work really hard in the 5th grade and you get an A, do you go back to the 5th grade because it's easier to get an A and keep on going back to the 5th grade? How would you feel 6 years into the 5th grade? Yeah, sure, you can get an A, no problem. Right? You go on to the 6th grade.
Yeah.
And then you keep doing these grades. It's the same exact thing in life. We can't be afraid of the next grade. And you cannot, when you move up a grade, you can't get 100% on every test without studying, without learning, without pain, without struggle, without taking practice tests and making mistakes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. It's like playing golf. You can't just walk up to the range, whether you're the greatest athlete in the world, which in my opinion is LeBron James, overall the greatest athlete ever to be born in every aspect of what he can do, strength, speed, the man is a Adonis of whatever. But I have played golf at the same club that LeBron started at, and he sucked. He sucked. There was so many mistakes that were being made. And I want people to realize that you can't get through this without the confidence. It doesn't come before the action. I've never seen, LeBron humbled and laughing at himself and literally saying, I suck.
That's and honestly, that's part of the key, is to be able to laugh at myself. Honda Sorichiro, the founder of the Honda Motor Company. How did you become so successful? I made as many mistakes as I could, as fast as I could.
Yes.
And that's the key. Keep
Yes,
moving.
so keep moving. All right. If anybody wants to learn how to keep moving, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. You get to replay the guides and exercises from today's training. Last lesson for today, Blaine, before you get to do Q&A and carry the load for me, which I'm grateful to be able to provide your wisdom, not a commodity wisdom, your wisdom to our community. Talking about the bridge between fear and faith, purpose.
Yep.
Purpose is the actual bridge to faith. When our mission becomes greater than our fear, when our purpose is greater than our pain, our perspective, our meaning, our relativity changes. Purpose gives us a reason. For the sake of what am I moving? Even when uncertainty remains day after day, the evidence is not aligned with, or it's even contrary to where we want to be. A parent, an entrepreneur, a coach, a leader often accomplishes extraordinary things because their commitment to serving others outweighs their personal fears. They no longer are attached to, I'll be happy when, but instead, for the sake of what? The bigger our mission, the smaller our fear becomes. But when you come up with the first step in a big mission, the thought of it, you have to remember it's a calling. And remember, those callings, God will not give you the calling. God will not give you the invitation without already knowing your limitations. That's why he provides the mistakes, setbacks, failures, defining moments, historical relevances to you, so that you can be promoted, protected, loved, and perfected. You can be moved to a better place, a better situation, circumstance, or event in your life. And that's how the system works. Purpose is a big part of moving possibilities into reality. You have taught so many, literally thousands of people about purpose, about a definiteness of purpose. How can we not be stifled by big missions? It is something that holds people back.
Bite-sized chunks. I eat an elephant one little bite at a time. That's probably the easiest way to think it.
You better be careful with that analogy. They may not let us back into Africa if you're talking about eating elephants. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cynthia, and you and I both, my wife, Cynthia Kersey,
founder of Unstoppable Foundation.
Founder of the Unstoppable Foundation, in which we both are sitting on the board. She's got a thing that she continuously refers back to. Yeah. And it has to do with when your life is tough, when you've got a problem and you're collapsing, you need to find a purpose bigger than your problem. You got to find a purpose bigger than your pain. And as soon as you can find that, and it's keyed into identifying what matters to me. It's one thing to have a dream and a vision, but if you can't link it into something that matters, why does this matter? And if that mattering is big enough, you're going to do whatever you need to do to get to it.
So true.
One small step at a time.
One step at a time. I'm going to quickly finish in this conclusion before we let Blaine answer some questions. There's a parable about a guy fishing, and Blaine's an extraordinary fisherman and I'm not. So I'll use him in the parable. So Blaine and I went fishing, and Blaine's catching so many fish and I'm catching none of them. But the odd thing was Blaine was throwing back all the big fish. And finally I said, Blaine, can you help me, man? I haven't caught one fish. You're catching so many fish, but I'm just curious. Normally people throw back the little ones and keep the big ones. Why are you keeping the little ones and throwing back the big ones? He said, well, I only have a 9-inch frying pan. And so don't live your life with a 9-inch frying pan. Yeah. How big is your frying pan? Ask yourself, when you're looking at your purpose, are you trying to impact over 1 billion people? Or are you limiting yourself to, I'd like to help 100 people? It's okay. I'd like to help one person a day or more than one person a day, but don't limit yourself. Don't have a 9-inch frying pan with your mission, your dreams, and your purpose. If you want to get the exercises guides from today, if you want the replay from today, if you want to learn about purpose, bridging fear and faith together, email me. David means beloved, at D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Blaine, extraordinary lives aren't built by fearless people. They're built by people who consistently, persistently pursue and choose courage. Every meaningful opportunity, option, touch of favor requires us to step into the uncertainty before we receive ease, which we define as certainty. This uncertainty hasn't stopped, but inside we have ease that gives us clarity, a majesty of calmness, which is perceived certainty. Our greatest leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers all experience and experienced fear. What separated them wasn't confidence. It was their willingness to act anyway. Faith and wisdom are not believing fear will disappear. Faith and wisdom is trusting that our next step matters more than our current doubt. Let your trust, your faith, believe in your next step. Know that it matters in your divine direction more than the interference, the doubt, the setbacks, the failures, and the mistakes. May God bless all of you. May you bridge the gap between fear and faith. If you would like the replay once again, or all these exercises, guides, and even my book, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'm going to leave you in great hands with my mentor, coach, and teacher. He will give you the instructions to get to where you want to be. He will teach you the best steps to take in those instructions. But most importantly, he will bring the best out of you, move your possibilities into reality. Reach out to blainebartlett.com or email me, david@dmeltzer.com. This has been the Napoleon Hill Institute training, Bridging Fear and Faith. Blaine, Nick, please reset the room and take some Q&A. I will see you later. Have a wonderful 4th of July if I don't talk to everybody. God bless you.
See you later.
See you later,
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Session with the double B, that is Blaine Bartlett. Of course, you can reach him at blainebartlett.com. And want to thank you, Blaine, not only for an incredible training here with David this morning, but of course for taking the extra time to join us for this Q&A session. I want to remind everybody, if you are online joining us, of course, as we are multicasting on all platforms, if you have a question for Blaine today, please go ahead and put it into the room chat or the webinar chat. And for all of our friends here in the Breakfast with Champions, please go ahead and use the hand icon if you are in the audience to request to join the stage. Or, of course, if you are already on stage and have a question for Blaine today, please just put a quick note in the room chat, and we will be happy to pass the mic over your way. Now, Mr. Blaine, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to the lovely Marianne for the first question of the day. Marianne, my dear, great to see you. Happy Wednesday. Unmute yourself and get us rocking and rolling.
Hi, Blaine.
Hey, Marianne.
This morning, a few things came up for me actually in the training, and I'm just going to mention them first and then lead into my question. First of all, the reasonable and unreasonable. I always have a lot of unreasonable thoughts, and I'm noticing I don't act on them completely. I have I also have been collecting the evidence of my qualifications, and something that I want to bring into the world is quality. It's something that I noticed as a little girl that I had before a lot of the trainings that I had. And I get stopped by because I want to do the best job. And I don't think it's perfectionism. And I keep hearing, and I am stepping into it more, quality assurance. Because I feel like where things create improvement and I don't notice it on myself. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm in that space right now.
Okay, and what's the question that space is generating for you?
The question is the way, like, using my feelings too much. How do I get out of using my feelings too much? Because you spoke into using your feelings to see the unseen, and I do that often, but I also get stuck there. How do I get stuck there and just move?
I guess my answer to this question, Marianne, is going to be the way that you're actually describing it. Stuck in the feeling. That does not preclude taking action in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the ability to feel the unseen, which is what, how I define faith, the ability to feel the unseen, that gives me kind of a North Star. This is, because I'm tracking for that experience. And the actions that I'm taking today, my feelings, I will feel, is it in alignment or not? So I'm continuously assessing current actions in the context of the feelings that I want to experience, not necessarily the pictorial outcome that I want to have, but the feeling of what that outcome would generate in myself and probably in others. So I use that as kind of a North Star, if you will. But the key here is I've got to continuously keep in motion.
Mm-hmm. So the after effects, go into the after effect that what it would create when and if the action was taken. That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, I want to take an action. Does this behavior generate in me, generate in us, generate the experience? Is it likely to generate the experience that I want to have in my life? Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do on an ongoing basis. And eventually what we're doing is making that unseen desire visible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. There's a metaphysics involved with this. And when we start getting into metaphysical territory, it gets a little squishy.
Yeah, I think I got to get out of metaphysics because I think I live in there.
Okay.
So, thank you very much. So what I hear is just take the steps, the action to build the confidence in what I am actually creating. So thank you.
Exactly. Confidence is consequence. So you just kind of, incremental steps. It's not going to be giant steps. And again, we're going to go back to you'll probably make more mistakes, quote unquote mistakes, than not mistakes. But that's kind of how we begin to figure out which filament is going to work in this light bulb.
Great. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marianne, for getting us started. And for our next question of the day, I'm going to pass it over to our good friend, Farmer Rob. Farmer Rob, it's been a few weeks. It's good to see you here, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Why don't you unmute yourself and keep us rolling with the next question of the day? Oh, Robert, unmute is lower left-hand corner of your screen. If you are having technical difficulties, no worries. It looks like you are. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Paul Logan, who is here on stage and has been patiently waiting. So, Paul, it's great to see you here, my friend. Why don't you unmute yourself and keep us rolling with the next question?
Great to hear you guys. I wish I was able to come last night. I was at so I was either feast or famine. I have nothing. I don't know, too many things. So my question is, I've been dealing with procrastination for a long time. I let things go to the last minute, and I've done like my self-analysis. My whole thing is, I think it's if I don't do it in a timely manner, and if I leave it to the last minute, I give myself an out by not that it wouldn't be 100%. And I know that I get paralysis from overanalysis sometimes. I want things to be perfect. So what are some good ways to deal with that?
With the procrastination syndrome? Yes. Interesting, Paul. It's a kind of a universal human experience in a lot of ways. A question for you here would be to kind of play with a little bit. Yeah, and I'm going to go back to your opening remarks. You kind of feast or famine sort of a thing here. How much do you value drama in your life?
I loathe it, but it seems to follow me.
Okay, yeah. Well, there is going to be a bit of a dynamic there that you may want to examine, because what you seem to be creating uh, a lot of is drama, overload, that all that sort of stuff. So part of what can come into play here from a biological perspective is there's an adrenaline release, an oxytocin release actually, and even a dopamine hit that kind of comes into play with all of this stuff that's going on. And if the biology has been tuned into that over a period of time, here's an interesting way of working with this. We start to feel the way that we think, and then over time, we start to think the way that we feel. So there's if your feeling structure in the biochemistry is overriding the cognitive load, you're going to start behaving in a manner that is consistent with that feeling structure, and you're going to keep attracting that kind of drama. And one way that begins to show up, particularly with procrastination, is the biology gets the dopamine rush from the deadline approaching, and it's not the anticipation of the result that gives you the feeling. It's the approaching of the deadline that gives you the feeling. And so beginning to recalibrate and recode what's going on internally can be one way that you begin to interrupt that pattern, because essentially what's going on is you've got a pattern that's running, and the way that you install something different is to interrupt the pattern. And you can't interrupt the pattern unless you know it's running. So just start with small things. Take the deadline out of it and get clear about, okay, what's this outcome going to produce for me? So I kind of go back to what matters here. I've got this objective. What matters about that? Because that's where I can get excited. I can get excited about what matters.
Okay. No, that's great. I mean, I do definitely think there's an obvious pattern. The dopamine hit is interesting. I never really thought about it that way, that that I'm actually subconsciously getting some sort of pleasure in the thrill of the last minute, sliding under the wall like Indiana Jones grabbing a hat.
Exactly.
I'm living my life that way. I'm like going through every yellow light.
Yeah.
So
hey,
it's not a good way to live.
You got a lot of examples.
I'm a New Yorker. I talk through analogies a lot. So
there you go.
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate the advice. I'm actually definitely gonna grab your book as well. I mean, Dave has taught me so much. Anybody that that Dave works with, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So thank you for taking the call today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It's one that's on a lot of people's minds, I can assure you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You bet, buddy.
Take care, Nick.
Thank you, Paul. Always good to see you here, my friend, and appreciate the way that you show up for our community and continue to bring not only great topics, but great questions to light. For our next question of the day, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to your favorite, Mr. Blaine. That is Princess Ali. Princess Ali, it is always good to see you here. You always bring incredible questions as well. What do you got for us this fine Wednesday morning?
Hi, Blaine.
Hi, Ali.
Awesome. So a lot of really incredible takeaways. One thing that really hit home for me was when you talked about how sustainable success is the ability to continuously start over. So my question is, what has life taught you about why starting over is so much harder emotionally than practically? And what allows you to stay committed long enough for time to reveal what faith already believed?
The older we get, the less likely we are to appreciate the value of starting over. Kids start over all the time. I mean, it's just kind of hardwired into them until they get to a certain point where they get applauded for success. You did it. You grabbed the brass ring, and it's kind of like, oh. And then David talked about, I got that A in the 5th grade. So I keep referencing past experience where that was, where I was successful. Adults, by and large, do not like the experience of being a beginner. We just typically don't appreciate that much at all, because we'd like to think of ourselves as competent. And a lot of this has to do with the development of an identity. And by the time we get into our late teens, early 20s, that identity piece has started to take root. And when I start taking on something new that requires me to be a beginner, to let go of some things that my identity has said, oh, no, this is who you are, that becomes a real challenge. And that's where the whole idea of fear versus faith starts to come back into play. So the idea of and I keep coming back to this, what really matters to me at this point in my life, what matters now, what mattered to me when I was 5 years old, what mattered to me when I was in the 5th grade, what matters to me when I was 24 are different. There are different things that matter to me at a visceral level. So when I can continue to reassess, is what I'm doing today making the kind of experience happen that I'd like to have in my life? Pretty soon, and there's diminishing returns that start to come into play here. I want to reassess what matters now. What matters now? And that will set me on a course of having to learn something new in order to be different. The idea of success in life, most people will code it as, I want to be a better version of what I used to be. In order to be successful in life, I've got to be different than what I used to be. Not better, different. And different in a way that is consistent with what matters. So, that becomes an organizing principle. So developing the capacity to continuously start over is what we're looking at. And, that capacity structure has to do with courage. It has to do with discernment. It has to do with taking on new habits, those sorts of things. And self-awareness is a key component of that.
Wow, that was amazing. I really just appreciate how you broke that down, a lot to absorb. Thank you, Blaine.
You bet, Ali. Thank you for the question.
Beautiful. And with our final 10 minutes here, we do have some time for additional questions. And Blaine, want to thank you again for always pouring into this community and going above and beyond as you do. For our next question of the day, I see Catherine has joined us here on stage. Catherine, if you are able to unmute yourself, did you have a question for Blaine today?
Well, I appreciate what he's saying. And one thing I learned about being different is to not take a shower in the morning. Because the Chinese medicine folks say all night long, we're kind of creating a fire, a buildup of our energies. And so would you put the fire out once you got it going? No, right? You let that enjoy the flame, then you let it burn down naturally. So to me, that makes perfect sense. It's another thing I don't have to do too early in the day. And they even say like between 3 and 7 at night, because that's when you're powering down, and not a long hot bath. We can't do heat. Too much actually water. We can't do water after 60, soaking it. Not cold water. We are warm beings. I mean, like the Chinese medicine, I don't know if you guys check it out. You could maybe have AI say, what does David say that pertains to Chinese? I know he's an early riser and all that. I mean, I just feel like we really have to be realistic here and say, all right, we got to stay healthy, stay plugged in, But also I put so much in the chat this morning. I don't usually try to do quite so much, and I hope it's okay. My apologies if not. But basically, they're saying the whole Earth is really, like I summarized there, it has a heartbeat at 7, and it was up 70. Now, what would we do if our heartbeat went up 10 times? We'd be in trouble. So we're all connected to the Earth, and I know I went to Vassar College 40 years ago. I wanted to learn more. I studied psychology, but I wanted to learn metaphysics. I wanted to learn spirituality.
Catherine, just to chime in here, we definitely see great value, but I wanted to make sure, is there a specific question for
does
Blaine?
any of that sound like, yes, we'll have discussions on the people with the bigger platforms? Are they going to talk about these things? And it's okay if they feel like, no, it's not in my wheelhouse, even though we're all on the earth and we're all human beings. I really feel like we don't have too much time to decide when are we going to get more of the main team players, because the media is being taken over, apparently, as we speak again today.
Well, to that question, Catherine, if I could just respond, you know,
Sure.
those participants, those speakers, those folks are not, you know, in the room right now. So I would be remiss if actually I'd be reluctant actually to answer for them in terms of what they are thinking of doing and what their possibilities might be. So that would be a question that I would bring to them specifically, you know, probably not collectively, but one-on-one if you've got a way to access or have a conversation with them.
Okay, well, I'm thinking of people like David and John Lee and
Mm-hmm.
the most famous people on Clubhouse, plus anybody in the government who's left because so many people are being fired. So I feel like
Catherine, one
we're all
suggestion
we're
for you is make sure
Yes.
to reach out to David directly. Just
I will.
email him,
I will.
david@dmeltzer.com, because I definitely have a few different suggestions, let alone introductions that we would be able to make in order to help accelerate you getting from point A to point B in lieu of these various different topics and issues that you're talking about. So thank you so much for joining us here this morning. We really appreciate you. And as we continue with the final 6 minutes of Q&A here, I'm going to take this opportunity to pass it over to Marco Antonio for the next question of the day. Marco, my friend, always good to see you here. Thank you for joining us. What do you got for Mr. Blaine today?
Likewise, Nick. Hey, Blaine.
Hey, Marco, good to hear you.
Yeah, man, so many takeaways today. You know, I'm trying to figure out which one to talk about, but I think the one that really resonated with me the most is asking myself the question is like, what am I fearful of? And the truth is that it's hard for me to answer that question, but the thing I've had to be careful of is inheriting other people's fears around me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's one thing I've been working on, but I guess my takeaway from this was fear also shows up in procrastination. And for me, it's also probably showed up in substance abuse and things like that over the years. So when you talked about getting a dopamine hit from the procrastination, I think that might have been speaking to me, but amazing stuff. My question to you today, man, when you look back at your life, you know, what fear has consumed the most mental energy for you that turned out to actually have the least impact in your future? And what advice do you have for folks so they can avoid that trap?
Yeah, that'd be a great question. The one that I would, and I've played with this question a little bit. I think the one that comes up, and it came up early in my life was being left behind, not abandoned, but being left behind. And part of that has to do with leaving others behind as well. So I've when I started paying attention to that, I started noticing some things. Yeah, if I was out hiking with a group, I would be rarely on point. I would be usually one or two people back from the person that was on point, mostly because I was making sure that there were no stragglers that were being left behind. And where this this whole notion of being left behind is really kind of hardwired into the human biology. Being ostracized from a group is probably the single greatest fear that indigenous peoples would have in their tribal structures. If you were ostracized, if you were cast out, that was almost certainly a death sentence. So the idea of being left behind, and again, I don't code it as being abandoned. It's being left behind. Now, rational fear, not at all. But I remember one time when I was probably about 5 years old, we were out camping and Dad had moved the car and I had gone to the bathroom in an outhouse. And I came out and where I thought the car was, it wasn't any longer. And I just had this visceral feeling of being left behind. And I knew that they loved me and I knew I hadn't been abandoned, but it was kind of like, oh my God, I'm lost here. And that visceral fear just kind of locked in. And it showed up in different ways as I started, maturing and started doing different things. But that's something I've always been kind of cognizant of. And I always, am paying attention to, its presence It never goes away. It's always kind of a shadow, and I laugh at it more than anything else now. But that dynamic is present, and it's present in not just that one, but each of us have kind of our own little campfire that we huddle around, if you will. That this is my own unique little fear. That's why one of the things that we talked about in today's lesson was identify what the fear is. So that little exercise that I spoke about, if then, you just kind of dig it down, and you get to a point where what you're looking at, may have been true at one point in time, but it is irrational any longer. It doesn't really have any viability, and I don't want to have it running me. So I can laugh at it, and when I can laugh at it, it lets go. And so I hope that makes sense, Marco.
Yeah, Blaine, thank you. I think we could all relate in some capacity. I appreciate your insights today, brother.
You bet, buddy.
And want to thank you one final time here, Mr. Blaine. That is the double B, Blaine Bartlett. You can reach him at blainebartlett.com for taking the time to extend this session and today's lesson with the Q&A with our incredibly abundant community. As we sign things off here and close up today's training, Mr. Blaine, any final words or encouragements on where people can get in touch with you?
You mentioned blainebartlett.com. That's my personal website. You can actually get more information. I mentioned the book, Stop Drifting, Start Living. You can find that on the website, blainebartlett.com/books. I've got 6 books there that I've written. And my email is bbartlett@avatar-resources.com, which is my company. bbartlett@avatar-resources.com. And I'm pretty good about getting back to email inquiries. So don't be shy.
You are the man, Mr. Blaine, and we cannot wait to have you back again next week for another edition of the Napoleon Hill Institute training. As a quick reminder for everybody, if you would like the guide and exercise from today's training, all you need to do is email the beloved servant. That is David at dmeltzer.com. And of course, we want to invite, but not obligate, everybody to come and join us in person, as we are on the road over 200 cities every single year, adding on what we call a car wash in each and every one of those cities, which is the addition of a community meetup, holding court, or even one of our VIP dinners for charity. So come and join us tomorrow, as we are going to be in San Diego, California for another edition of David's Community Meetup series. Then from there, it'll be off to Viva Las Vegas next week for NBA Summer League. Then it'll be over to New York City. Man, it has been too long since we've been in New York. Cannot wait to get back. We will be there for Fanatics Fest 2026, plus Car Wash, of course. Then from there, we'll be back at the greatest stadium in the world, SoFi Stadium here in Los Angeles, for the next edition of our Mastermind, plus Car Wash. Then over to Miami with Lionel Messi and, of course, the Inter CF Miami football team. Then from there over across the pond to our London members-only Mastermind plus Car Wash, and then rounding out the incredible series here over the next 2 weeks or so in Breckenridge, Colorado, with our Breckenridge Golf Club VIP dinner plus Car Wash. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like the reminders on where we're going to be in over 200 invitations but not obligations a year, all you need to do is text us at area code 949. Next 3 digits are 298. Last 4 digits are 2905 to get those invitations and reminders on where we are going to be. Of course, we'll be back here in the Breakfast with Champions this upcoming Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another edition of David's Free Friday training series. But in the meantime, have an incredible rest of your Wednesday ahead. And as David always says, continue to be more interested than interesting, and be kind to your future self, and do good deeds. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, David, for an incredible training today. Officially closing out the room. And for the multicast, Gigi, hit it.
Hey! 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 Oh, hey! Wanna know where David's gonna be? Get invites, updates, and community. When he's in your city, you won't miss a thing. Just text the number, let your phone ring, 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 ring. 949-292-9. direction and opportunity.